Hello guys, I am back from another video, and today we're talking about deku was Typhon. So, in the last video deku, after they were told that they're gonna be having a sports festival, everybody started to train, including Izuku. So we're just going to skip a little bit of the last part until we get to to the sports festival. So we're gonna skip that part, like the filler I guess, and we're just gonna skip to the, you know, Dispersed Festival. So, during a Dispersed Festival, Izuku does a speech, but he just, kind of fails miserably, but everybody just thought it was okay, I guess. So, Izuku started getting ready for the first event, being the obstacle race, which Izuku won perfectly. Not really perfectly, like, he just did it luckily, thankfully, because Izuku was just terrified what is gonna happen to him when he gets slashed and bashed by the zero pointers, but thankfully Izuku won. So the next event was the simple cavalry battle. So Izuku picked his team as it's just Kaminari, Ochako, and Mei Hatsume. So after picking his team, they get ready as everybody just basically tries to attack them, but thankfully Izuku creates a special dome made of earth and metal, specifically the earth from the from the arena, and also the metal pipes from from the under literally the pipes of of the UA you know thing. Anyway, as everybody tries to basically break this wall, nobody well couldn't. Like seriously, nobody couldn't even break it. So they decide to just fight each other instead. So after a while, basically Izuku wins with his team. So yeah, that's basically what happened last episode. We basically ended it off at that, but we're gonna be coming back to this event. So this is the episode now. So let's talk about what happens next. So they decide to have some lunch as Izuku starts going to a nearby cafeteria where Izuku starts eating. So, while Izuku is eating, several of the girls, specifically from Class 1B, start getting to him. Specifically, they wanted to, ask him for some reason. So, several of these, Class 1B girls wanted to ask this. So, Izuku, why did you decide to join Class 1A? Especially a girl with blonde hair and gray eyes. She introduces herself as Monoma, as she starts bothering Izuku, asking if they, want to marry. As Izuku just says this. Wait, marry? I'm sorry, I'm not really ready for marriage. As she says this. Well, don't worry, I promise. My parents will absolutely love you. As when they were talking, several of the girls, specifically Class 1A, but more specifically, wait for a second, Todoroki, seems to be mad. As in, seems to be, she literally looks like she's emitting bloodlust, including Bakugo and Momo. For Ochako being Izuku's sister, she was concerned what they're about to do. As they come up to them, as they basically started fighting, Izuku tries to stop them from fighting, but Monoma starts stealing their quirks, as not really stealing their quirks, more like copying them, as they start using them on them, like using their quirks on them. But Izuku stops them by creating a wall made out of earth. As Monoma touches Izuku, nothing happens. He tried using his quirk, or quote unquote quirk, but it didn't work. As she says this, what? Why isn't it working? As Izuku just says this. I know that you're trying to use my quirk or trying to copy my quirk, so unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. I only have to give permission for people to use my quirk, or should I say, give, permission to copy my quirk. which is an obvious lie. As Monoma says this, you. Whatever, we're leaving. As Class 1B starts leaving. So, they were told that the first match is about to start, which is a battle between Izuku and Class 1B's student by the name of, wait for a second, Shinso. So, after being told of this, they started getting ready for the first match, specifically Izuku. So, when Izuku gets there, Izuku sees Shinso. Shinso looks like Aizawa, but except with purple hair and seems to be even more depressed. Anyway, Midnight says this. Alright, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go! As, instead of fighting, well, she decides to just start insulting Izuku. Shinso started insulting Izuku about his, like, the whole thing of, like, being Izuku, being the first boy able to use a quirk. As when Izuku was being insulted, Izuku just ignored it, and thinking it was just some sort of, like, trick. Until she tries to bash on him on, well, being the only boy of Class 1A, and thinking that she could easily beat him. After being told of this, let's just say Izuku kind of feels a bit mad, and decides to, well, let's just say traumatize her. So wait for a second. So, Izuku starts creating a black looking gas, specifically a gas that's similar to his like poison cloud, but except a little bit different. So, after engulfing her in this gas with Izuku in it, well, it's basically like an illusion, a phantasm, not a noble phantasm, basically like an actual phantasm, which refers to like an illusion or a trick. So, Izuku uses this as Izuku starts traumatizing her with several looking terrifying monsters. Specifically, Izuku's, or should I say Typhon's, children, as they snap at her, trying to bite her, as after, like, a few, like, minutes, after when, everybody was just, like, bored of the fight and just started, like, looking at their phones, Izuku just dissolves the gas as she was terrified. She starts running away and saying, I quit, I quit, as everybody saw this as they thought, what the heck happened in there? As, anyway, wait for a second, just wait for it. As Midnight says this. Anyway, I guess Izuku Midoriya wins. So, after Izuku wins, Izuku started leaving to the locker rooms, getting ready for his next match. So, after another fight, specifically a fight between Bakugo and Kirishima, it's basically another fight between Izuku, but instead of Shinso, he's going to be fighting Todoroki. So, Izuku gets ready, comes stretching, as Izuku starts leaving to fight Todoroki. So, Todoroki comes up as she says this. So, Izuku, we're going to be fighting. As Izuku just says this. Alright, Todoroki, give it your all, okay? So, Izuku creates a blade made out of, like, scales, as Izuku just says this. So, ready to fight? This sword is made out of, like these, like, literally his scales. And this sword is also, like, black. Basically pure black. Like the same color as his, tail. So, Izuku started growing that similar tail. God dang it. That similar tail. As Izuku says this. Ready to fight? As Todoroki says this. Yeah. As Izuku sees Endeavor, as she says this. Shoto, use your fire side. Got it? As she says this. Whatever, old hag. As Midnight says this. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go! As Todoroki started charging towards him by creating ice. Specifically, a little bit more dark blue eyes. Not as dark as Izuku's, as Izuku creates black fire which burns the ice, melting it in an instant. As when Endeavor saw it, she was instantly hooked. So, Todoroki tries to fight Izuku by using her eyesight only, as Endeavor says this: "I told you, Shoto, to use your fire side." But she keeps ignoring her, as she says this: "Take this, Izuku." As she throws a big, blast of ice at Izuku's face at point blank range. The place was covered in, literally covered in ice. So nobody could see anything. But when the ice dissolved, they see fire, black fire coming out of Izuku. As Izuku just says this: "Take this." As his tail shoots out a blast of fire, shooting it out at rapid speeds, as it kind of burns the entire arena. As Shoto had enough and starts using her fire side again. As Izuku just says this: "So you're finally using your fire side." Huh. Anyway, maybe I should use my ice side instead this time. As Izuku starts creating dark blue ice, like navy blue ice. As when Todoroki starts trying to burn it, it doesn't work. His ice was too cold to be burned. Only the fires of the sun, or the fires made by Vulcan, or should I say Hephaestus, can actually melt it. As Izuku just says this: "Heh, you really think that you can ever beat me? I've trained. I've learned from my mistakes." And it seems that you finally learned from your mistakes too, Todoroki. So, let me end it for you. As Izuku just grabs her by the neck, not like literally from the neck, like choking her, just grabbing her by the collar and just lays her down on the grass, making him the winner. Making him the winner. So yeah, after Todoroki's defeat, she started leaving the arena as she was confronted by her mother, Endeavor. As Endeavor says this: "Todoroki, you finally used your fire side. Huh. I'm proud of you." As she says this: "Don't talk to me, old woman. You damn old hag." As she slaps her face. As Todoroki says this: "I will never be like you. You. As she says this: "Don't talk to your mother like that, or I'll have to punish you." And also, that boy, you call him Izuku, right? Your classmate. He seems to be interesting. I wonder if he's, considering joining my agency. Maybe, Todoroki, you should try and convince him." As she says this: "Why would I ever listen to you then, you old hat?" As she says this: "Say that again or you're going to be burned alive. Maybe just like your father." As Todoroki remembers what happened. She remembers back when she was a kid, so this is actually going to be a flashback, so yeah. So let the flashback begin. So, not really Izuku, I meant Todoroki was still a child. Back when she was still kind of innocent. So, she decides to go to her father's room, being... Oh, sorry about that, I just ate. Sorry, I, burped. Anyway, so, she starts going to her father's room / mother's room, as she sees Endeavor beating on her mother. As she says this: "You damn useless husband, you're nothing more than a waste." As he says this: I'm sorry. As when Todoroki saw that, she felt something burning. she felt angry. So, after that day, it's basically like a normal day with her brother Natsuo and sister. Wait for a second. Fuyumi, as she starts abusing her brother Natsuo for boy again. As she says this, "Why are you not a girl? Instead of being a girl, you're just a useless little boy." As she throws her right onto the curb and says this, "You're nothing more than a waste to the family. Now, leave." As she starts throwing all of the clothes of Natsuo and leaving him to go fend for himself on the streets. Todoroki saw that on full display. She felt angry. For Fuyumi, she starts treating her nicely, not as nicely as Todoroki, but she started abusing her as well because she's not as strong as Todoroki. She also left. And finally, there's Toyah, her sister. Toyah had a similar quirk to Endeavor, but instead had blue fire. But she thought it was just useless until she tried using it on Endeavor, which Endeavor blocked the fire and threw her out, saying that she was an outcast. And her final sibling left. She was all alone, but there is still a light, being her father. So, after a while, and I mean a while, she mostly stayed with her father most of the time. And you know what Endeavor did? Endeavor, after Todoroki came back from school, Endeavor killed Todoroki's father. She threw away his body and burned it, leaving no trace. And it's not helping that he was the number 2 hero at the time, because nobody would ever trace him for being, trace her for being the actual murderer. I mean, who would ever blame a hero for being a murderer? Like, seriously. After Todoroki saw that traumatic, that traumatic thing, she became angry at, Endeavor, and never considered her as her real mother. So, end of flashback. So, yeah, wait for a second. So, after she left, she goes to the locker room and she sees Bakugo, as Bakugo said this. "So what are you doing here, Icy Hot?" As she says this. "Oh, I actually lost." As she says this. "Heh, you actually lost to the nerd." "Either way, I'm definitely gonna win." As she says this. "You're gonna win?" As she says this. "Obviously, because I'm the number 1 hero, or at least soon become number 1 hero." As Bakugo just looks at Todoroki as she says this. "So, did something happen to you or something? Because you definitely look sadder than usual." As Todoroki says this. "It's nothing." As Bakugo said this. "Either way, I'm just gonna be getting ready for my match." As she says this. "Your match with who?" As she looks at the TV, or the screen, and sees that she's going to be fighting Izuku. So, after several matches, it's finally the final match, being her versus Izuku. So, wait for a second. So, after she leaves, Todoroki was all alone, as she thought of something. If she wants to become stronger, she should try and act and almost become a friend to Izuku. Because of her, fire and ice quirk, Izuku's ability to use elemental powers, maybe if she learns or gets like teach from Izuku, well, maybe she could be stronger, faster, and maybe get revenge for her father's death. So, back to Izuku. So, after the announcement saying that, well, Bakugo is going to be Izuku's opponent, Izuku gets ready, as Izuku picks a perfect quirk for defeating her, being a ice quirk, which allows him to just stop her from like sweating because remember, her quirk, or should I say Bakugo's quirk, allows her to sweat a similar chemical to nitroglycerin, I think it was called, and ignite it with his or her, or should I say her in this, because, it's a girl in this universe. Anyway, by using her, like, well, ignition quirk, I guess I can call it, she's able to create an explosion. So, after being told that it's finally Izuku's turn, it's finally the final match between Izuku and Bakugo, the final match of the sports festival. As everybody is excited to see Izuku fight Bakugo, everybody started chanting 3 as Izuku and Bakugo say this, 2, and finally Midnight says this, 1 as everybody said this, go as Izuku starts charging towards her. As for Bakugo, she starts charging towards Izuku. Something blows up in front of them, and it was not Bakugo's explosion. Instead, there were two people. One was a girl with a Roman, like almost Greek inspired clothing, including the other was another girl, but instead was riding a horse with wings. As one of them said this, I am Perseus. Now, hello, Typhon, god of monsters, or should I say father of all monsters. As the other person says this, I am Achilles. Now, you damn monster, you think that you can ever escape us? Us, the reincarnations of the great heroes of Greece. You dare to defy the gods. As Izuku just says this. What are you talking about? I'm not a as they say this. Liar. As the heroes arrive, as they say this. Who the hell are you? As they say this. Oh, you. Oh, I see. It seems that you've finally been brainwashed. As they say this. Brainwashed. As Aizawa just says this. What are they talking about? As Izuku just says this. I don't know. As they say this. Don't talk to us, you damn monster. We know your secret. You're Typhon, the god of monsters, or more specifically, the father of all monsters. Our Lord and Savior, Zeus, trapped you in that ambrosia tomb, defeating you and punishing you for your crimes. And now, ever since he was dead and killed by the Titans, after they enslaved them, after they enslaved the Titans, they escaped. Or more specifically, they found you, Typhon, and destroyed your tomb, freeing you. And now you're here, getting ready to get all of your strength back and destroy the world. Isn't that right, you damn monster? As Izuku just says this, I'm sorry, but what? It seems to sound like I'm the bad guy, but I'm actually kind of the good guy in this scenario. As they say this, don't you dare think of yourself as the good guy. You're nothing more than a monster, a beast of destruction, a enemy of humanity. And it's our job to kill you. As Perseus says this, agreed. Now, time for you to die. As Perseus gains this almost power over lightning, after all, He was another child of Zeus, as he throws lightning. So, after getting thrown lightning at him, Izuku started running away, as Izuku starts creating shields made out of, well, his scales. As Achilles started charging towards Izuku, as the heroes say this: I don't know who you are, but whatever you're calling Izuku, this Typhon guy, he's definitely not him. As they say this, or should I say, Achilles say this: misunderstood children. You're nothing more than pawns to him. We will set you free from your, or should I say, his grasp. As they basically start charging towards the heroes and basically destroy them in an instant. Izuku was being bombarded by several of their attacks, but Izuku couldn't take it anymore. Izuku decides to transform into his true form, as Izuku just says this: all of you. As Izuku bellowed out that voice, a voice that was imposing and terrifying. Izuku just says, oh, sorry about that. Kind of ruined the moment. Izuku just says this: everybody get out, or you might die. As everybody started getting out of there, including some of the heroes in training, Izuku just says this: Perseus, the son of Zeus, and you, Achilles, the immortal man. Now, you call me a monster when your gods dare to kill my wife. You dare to call me a monster just because I was protecting the world. For just protecting my mother Gaia. As Izuku starts growing to immense size, growing his signature several like serpents for legs and wings that block out the sun, Izuku just says this: well then, allow me to show you what a true monster is. And you're the ones that will face him. I am Typhon, god of monsters. As everybody, including the cameraman, started recording Izuku transformed into this, whatever this being is. Wait for a second. Well, Perseus started charging towards him, riding on Pegasus. As Izuku grabs Pegasus, as he says this: I'm sorry, my nephew. Because if you don't know, apparently in legend, Medusa was also the sister, or at least half-sister, I guess, of Echidna. And in the legend of, well, not really Perseus, technically Bellerophon rode him into battle, but let's just say Perseus is now riding on Pegasus. So, Pegasus was actually born after Perseus sliced off the head of Medusa, and came out was Pegasus, out of the stump of where Medusa's neck came from. But also another fun fact: apparently another like creature came out of like Medusa after Perseus killed her, being a winged man. I don't know what's his name though, but apparently he had wings and a almost angelic face. Apparently. So, Bellerophon shoot out a ring of lightning as Izuku just grabs it and destroys it. As Izuku just crushes the body of Pegasus and grabs Perseus, as he says this: you call yourselves righteous when your so-called savior killed my wife. Well then die! As Izuku just burns him alive, or should I say her, as her body was charred. As when the heroes see Izuku transformed into this, well, Nezu said this: wait, Typhon? Wife? Wait a minute. That means he's the actual, as one of them being, well, Midnight says this. What do you mean by that? As he says this: no way. He's the actual god of monsters. The actual father of all monsters, as Achilles say this. You couldn't defeat me. I am a god. Or should I say a half-god. I am now immortal from this union. And nobody can defeat, as Izuku just says this. I can easily defeat you, my boy. As Izuku creates more monsters from his body, creating these almost humanoid monsters with the faces of like hyenas, and several axes that they wield as weapons, as they charge towards Achilles. Achilles gets a slice at his like Achilles tendon, or should I say heel, as he says this, "Duh, no, my weakness," as one of these hyena people say this. Now die, you stupid hero, as they slit his throat, killing him in an instant. As after Izuku's rampage was over, Izuku, after using too much of his energy, transforms back into a human and was knocked out. So, after that, several of the heroes and heroes in training and many of these like people, after seeing that, well, Izuku transforming into the like literal father of all monsters, they go to Izuku and see that he was knocked out. After the cameramen were like, just like, like their pants is completely brown now, they started leaving and bringing the footage to the news station. So, after they see Izuku knocked out on the floor, tired, and, well, inhaling, not really inhaling, more like wheezing, like that, as they started bringing Izuku to the infirmary immediately, as Recovery Girl says that Izuku's okay, but he seems to be, well, knocked out. Everybody, after Izuku transformed into this monster, they realize that gods, monsters, and other mythical creatures, they're real. So, after realizing this will be the end of the episode. Anyway, so this will be the end of the episode. Sorry, but I'm clearly busy because, modules and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, this will be the end of the episode, and I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!